This issue is that Moses, when he was taking care of Jethro's flocks, now that was his father-in-law, and when he had fled Egypt, he lived in the land of Midian. And the land of Midian is in north of Saudi Arabia. There is no archaeological evidence.
The biggest concern is that Moses, when he was herding Jethro's sheep now, that was his father-in-law, and when he had fled Egypt, he lived in the land of Midian, and the land of Midian is north of Saudi Arabia. There is no archaeological evidence for Midian, the Sinai Peninsula in the burning heat of the Saudi Arabian desert, hidden under centuries of sand and silence. Something was found, something that now has scientists, historians, eons, and even religious skeptics scrambling for answers. What was supposed to be a barren and lifeless area has suddenly become the center of global attention. And the most surprising thing, this groundbreaking discovery wasn't made by religious scholars or believers, but by a group of atheists. They weren't searching for God, they were searching for history, but what they found may have changed everything. Before we get further into this shocking discovery, take a moment to subscribe to our channel for more riveting documentaries linking the dots between the Bible, archaeology, and science. We excavate the past to shed light on the present, and what you're about to hear is one of the greatest stories never told from the Middle Eastern deserts. Theologians and biblical scholars have for centuries debated the true location of Mount Sinai, the actual mountain where Moses was given the 10 Commandments from God. The traditional site located in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula has been sacred for generations. Tourists climb it, pilgrims revere it, but archaeologists, most of them, have been skeptical. And then came a new theory, one that would focus the world's attention eastward into Saudi Arabia, a theory advocated by the late American researcher and adventurer Ron Wyatt, who risked jail and ridicule to tape what he believed was the real Mount Sinai. Jebel al-Lawz. Ron Wyatt was not a mainstream archaeologist. He was a nurse, an anesthetist by training, but had a passion for biblical archaeology. And in the late 1980s, he traveled into the forbidden mountains of northwestern Saudi Arabia, tracking biblical clues and ancient maps. What he found shocked him, but at the time his claims were largely dismissed. The evidence was not easy to access. The mountain was located in a highly restricted area, and Wyatt's photos, though intriguing, were not enough to convince the wider academic community. Until now. Flash forward to recent years, a group of secular scientists, most of them self-described atheists, gained special permission from the Saudi government to explore regions previously restricted. Their mission to chart ancient trade routes and tribal migrations. They weren't looking to validate biblical accounts, they were simply following the evidence wherever it would lead. However, what they found has left them speechless. One of the team leaders, a European geologist, had this to say in an interview: "We came here as scientists, not believers, but the features we're finding on this mountain match almost exactly with what is written in the book of Exodus. It's unsettling. They videotaped a mountain with a blackened peak burned by what appears to be extreme heat, though there's no volcanic activity in the area. They found a huge split rock with evidence of water erosion in the middle of the desert, ominously conforming to the biblical account of Moses striking the rock at herb from which water gushed forth, Exodus 17:6. But that was only the beginning. Toward the base of the mountain, the team of researchers stumbled upon a massive circular stone structure. Images of cattle, bulls to be precise, were carved into adjacent rocks. To the secular researchers, this appeared to be some kind of ancient cult center. But to those familiar with the Bible, it rang an immediate bell. In Exodus 32, while Moses was on Mount Sinai, the Israelites had constructed a golden calf and worshipped it, provoking God's wrath. Is this site the remnants of that infamous event? Ron Wyatt documented this site decades ago, but it was relegated to speculation. Now, with independent Secular researchers confirming that it does exist and providing high resolution images, carbon dating, and geographical analysis. The story is no longer so easily dismissed. The Saudi government, which was once very secretive about this location, has begun constructing fences and placing surveillance cameras around the site, suggesting that they now accept the site's explosive implications. Another incredible discovery: the summit of the mountain is actually charred. Satellite imaging confirms this isn't simply discoloration, it's actual charring of the rock, yet there is no sign of a natural fire, no volcanic ash, and no logical explanation. Exodus 19:18 describes what happened at sea. Mount Sinai was engulfed in smoke because the Lord descended upon it in fire. Even more inexplicable, the team discovered lines of stone markers forming what appear to be boundaries, perhaps the same ones God told Moses to set up, warning the people not to approach the sacred mountain. Exodus 19:12. The researchers who made these discoveries weren't looking for the Bible, they weren't trying to prove faith, and yet their findings seem to reflect the ancient texts almost line by line. Some of the project members have since withdrawn from public scrutiny, refusing interviews. Others have spoken out nervously. One of the atheists who initially published drone footage of the area later posted this cryptic message online: everything that we used to think is being turned upside down. We started out to debunk legends, now we're the ones who can't sleep at night. This has sent shock waves through the scientific community. Why are prominent secular scientists now clamming up? What are they afraid of? The possibility that the real Mount Sinai might be in Saudi Arabia and not Egypt is revolutionary. If this theory is correct, it would take a reevaluation of biblical geography. It would mean that Exodus was not just allegory but founded on real physical sites and events. Biblical apologist Dr. Leonard Miller, a Swedish scholar who also toured the site and validated Ron Wyatt's findings, wrote in his book, "You don't have to believe in the Bible to realize that something tremendous happened here. The rocks, the altars, the inscriptions, they all speak for themselves. But if this site really is Mount Sinai, why is the world only now hearing about it?" One possibility is political. Saudi Arabia's conservative policies and Islamic traditions may have made it hard over the years to promote a site that confirms Jewish and, by extension, Christian scripture. Another possibility is academic pride. For decades, mainstream scholars placed Mount Sinai in Egypt. To change location would invalidate decades of research and tourist infrastructure. It's hard to admit you were wrong, especially on a global level, but as evidence accumulates, silence becomes increasingly impossible to maintain. The Bible is not just a religious text. It is a book of history, and if the land begins to testify to its truth, even the most skeptical minds must turn. Psalm 85:1 states, "Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven." That seems to be happening now. Truth is springing out of the rocky hills of Arabia, stone altars, burned peaks, water-worn rocks in the desert, and testimonies not just from Christians but from atheists as well. With the attention of the world now focusing on Jebel al-Lawz, the pressure is mounting. Will the Saudi government allow more excavations? Will the Western universities eventually recognize Ron Wyatt's work? Will the evidence be preserved or hidden? Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who need to see the truth uncovered by the very people who least expected to find it. Until next time, keep searching, keep questioning, and keep your eyes on the horizon. For the past is not dead, it's buried, waiting to be found.